Are the characters in the Bible found in Egypt? Yes, with slight alterations. Many of the characters and their family lines repeat themselves. Sometimes it even shifts from male to female, but you see a similarity in the amount of children, wives, and even in the way the names are spelled. Especially this is found with the line of Cain in Genesis 4:16-22. Sometimes the male becomes a female, the father becomes a son, and one character in Egypt, maybe two in the Bible. Many times there is a misuse of names by alternated spellings, as in Set and Seth, Horus. If you look close into these Bible and Quranic stories, you will see the relation and where they came from. Their divine father or God Yhwh is Ihu, or backwards He, the Egyptian deity Hu, the force of creative will. So you see where Jehovah and Jah comes from. I is the Y, the same letter. And in Egypt there was Re or Ra, Roi, the seeing. The being that looks down on all others in the sunlight or the shade. He is there and sees all that is going on. So Yhwh was He who was Re, who created angelic beings called souls or spirit beings. He takes many forms, as Re takes many forms, Kur, Ra, and Atun or Atun. Different forms and expressions of He or Re. Just as the name Jol in their Bible, which would be short for Jah, El, or Jehovah, Yahweh, Elohim, does not imply that Jol was in fact Yahweh and Elohim, but a Yahweh Elohim. Now look at Shu means to raise, as the wind blow the breath of life. This Shu in Egypt is the Ruach spirit or even soul, and his counterpart Tefnut from Tef meaning moist as plasmatic or spiritual being. So Shu is soul and Tefnut is spirit, and your Bible and Quran angelos, angelic being or malaikat, spirit being, who can incarnate or personify into human flesh. Now the Shu and Tefnut birth, or Grugeb, which means earth or grown, the same as Adam means ground, or earth, and Geb's mate was Nut, and her name means liquid from new, also called Kabus, which means one with 1,000 souls. Just Eve means mother of all living, Bible, Genesis 3:20. They are the same, also the Bible called Eve Nekeba. You can see Kabus and Nekeba is the same. So Adam came from Geb and Eve came from Nut. That would mean Cain possession was Set or Suchuk, and Abel breath was Osiris or Asara. Then who would be the new sunset, which means compensation, to pay one for something done, Bible, Genesis 4:25, where it states this was the God's son, not Adam's. This would be Horus or Haru had to pay Set back for killing his father, a compensation. The devil Satan or Nakash was Apep, Apophis, the serpent. Moses was Thothmoses I, his brother Aaron was Aneni, his wife Zipporah his Midianite wife, Exodus 2:21, was Amos, Rasi his Cushite wife, Numbers 12:1 was Mutnojma. His sons Gershon and Eleazar was Wajmos and Amonmos Eleazar, Exodus 18:3. Hatshepsut was equivalent to his sister Maris, Miriam, number 12:1, not his daughter. Who had this curse of Genesis 9:24-27? Canaan the son of Ham, not Ham, Bible, Exodus 34:7. Ham thought to have sexual intercourse with his own father Noah and looked upon his nakedness, Bible, Leviticus 18:7. This was a violation of physical and spiritual laws. This curse was of two parts: servitude and skin disease. The curse that was placed on Ham's fourth son Laban, Canaan, was servitude and the curse of leprosy, something that will be mentioned later on in this scroll. It is a known fact that Ham was Nubian, Psalms 106:21-22, and all of the descendants before him were Nubian also, just by virtue of the fact that the meaning of the name Ham, is burnt black in the Aramaic, Hebrew, language, Psalm 78:51, 105:23-27. Lets you know what color he was. During the period of the Enlightenment, when the Caucasian was emerging from his dark ages into a period of scientific thought, the efforts to study mankind and his different races scientifically came into conflict with the scriptures. The biggest debates were those concerning the Nubian man's place in nature. The Black Hamite concept was steadily losing ground. In Genesis 9:25, Noah had only cursed Laban, Canaan. Scientific racial classifications established a separate Hamitic branch of the Caucasian race and named Canaanites black. The Caucasian knows exactly who he is and where he came from, but he has skillfully danced in and out of the truth, adding and subtracting anything that he doesn't like and making himself whatever he wants. Noah, being one of the first farmers, planted a vineyard. He gathered the grapes from his vineyard, made wine and drank it. He did not know the effects the wine would have on him, so he became drunk and laid down in his tent unclothed. Ham allowed his countenance to drop and was in a weak state after the argument he just had with his wife Halima, daughter of Unis and Shakar. It was easy for the devil to possess him in his weak state of mind. Thus, Iblis the rebellious one sent one of his disagreeable beings in the form of Anak, the queen of Nod, nudity, to Ham and possessed him. Ham, while in his father's tent, mocked his father's nakedness. Then he looked upon the nakedness of his father with the thought of sexuality and fornication. Yet, he did not lay with his father. Although Ham was not acting on his own will, he still violated the laws of the Most High. Leviticus 18:7. Why was Ham looking upon his father's nakedness considered such a great sin if he did not actually lay with his father? The reason is that it was by Ham that the 200 fallen disagreeable Elohim were able to get back into Chi, the planet Earth. After Ham had opened himself up by having an argument with his wife, Halima, he allowed Anak, the queen of the disagreeable Elohim, to possess him. After Noah awoke from his sleep, he knew immediately what his son had done to him. Therefore, he placed a curse on Ham's fourth son, who was called Canaan, whose real name was Labana. Remember, the curse was not put on Ham, as many are led to believe, but on his fourth son Canaan. Noah told Ham, "The curse will be upon your son Canaan, who was originally named Labana by his parents Ham and Halima at his 8th day birth ceremony, in which a child receives their name." His name was later changed to Canaan by flugel rods when he moved up from the lowland to the caves. The other curse was a spiritual curse. It was the spiritual curse which Halil immediately received when he rebelled against Kadmon, Adam. The physical curse meant that a race of beings would manifest in the physical with the spirit of the demons. This race of beings, lepers, didn't manifest until the birth of Labana. He was named such because he was pale and white like snow. Later he was called Canaan, the grandson of Noah. When the Bible was copied from the original, the name Labana was forgotten, as were most of the names of the people in the Bible. What you are being taught in your Bible as the names of people are really just titles. The formation of some of the Caucasians are a result of the physical curse, leprosy, that was placed on Labana. However, not all of the Caucasians came from leprosy. You have 3 types of Caucasians, and they are: 1. Blonde hair, blue eyes; 2. Red hair, green eyes; and 3. Dark hair, dark eyes. This curse that was placed on Labana was also a genetic one, which means that it took place in the genes of man. This was the removal of his melanin, which cut off his family ties with the Anunnaki Elohim. This is a genetic disorder called albinism. For a person to be born with albinism, both parents must be albinos. It affects 1 out of every several thousand humans and other animals. This is because both parents do not possess any of the dominant genes. The science of heredity in human genetics explores the transmission of physical traits and other characteristics of parents to their offspring. The basic units in the complex process are called genes, and these make up the chromosome. The basic chemical of the gene, DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, enables the gene to carry all the information of heredity. The chromosomes occur in pairs. Normally, each of us have 23 pairs of chromosomes. The sex chromosomes carry genes that determine other characteristics. Because these others are on the sex chromosomes, the characteristics they determine what are called sex-linked characteristics. They are the science of the chromosomes in reverse, and they appear in pairs, multiples of whole numbers or fractions, called strands. The Anunnaki have 50 pairs of chromosomes, 25 and 25. The Shaggy's missing link has 49 pairs of chromosomes, 24 and a half and 24 and a half. The chimpanzee has 48 pairs of chromosomes, 24 and 24. Those with Down syndrome, abnormal humans have 47 pairs of chromosomes, 23 and a half and 23 and a half. Normal human beings, who is not so normal, being incomplete, has 46 pairs of chromosomes, 23 and 23, and on the 6th of the 23. They should live to not less than 120 years, and the key unlocking this defect to perfect is to overcome the disease called age. This can and will be done through this formula. The 6th of the 23 pairs of the normal human chromosomes is the key to mapping out the genes and cures for this disease, death as you know it. Labana, Canaan, became an albino because both of his parents had recessive genes. Ham and Halima, his parents, were descendants of Cuthites. Let's take a look at the genealogy of Labana. Labana's parents, as stated earlier, were Ham and Halima. Ham already had the disagreeable gene in him from his mother, and Halima had disagreeable genes from her mother. Remember in Genesis 24-25, after Ham had committed the sin of looking at his father Noah, the friend of God who was perfect in his generations and who walked with God in Genesis 6:9, Noah told him that a curse would be placed on his fourth son Labana, Canaan. If you read on later, in the next verse Genesis 26, you will see where Noah includes in his condemnation Yahweh Elohim, and he told Ham that Labana, Canaan, shall be a servant unto his brethren. At this point Ham became terrified, and this affected his nervous system, which sent messages to his brain and affected his pineal gland, which produces the melanin. Stress and fear can cause many complications in the way a person's body may respond. In humans, if danger is perceived, the pituitary gland releases a hormone called adrenocorticotropic hormone, stimulating or acting on the adrenal cortex. This hormone in turn triggers the adrenal glands to release epinephrine, known to most as adrenaline, which is a hormone secreted by the adrenal medulla that is released into the bloodstream in response to physical or mental stress, as from fear or injury. Stress or fear shifts blood flow and energy to the brain, and these effects are all results of what doctors call the fight or flight response of the body when it is confronted with a threatening situation. Thus, a person in a physically or mentally dangerous situation is said to be under stress, as in the case of Ham when he was approached by the Elohim. If a person goes into a state of shock or fear, which is something that would lead them to be stressed, there are two things that may happen. One is the over-secretion of melanocyte-stimulating hormone, HSH, by the pituitary gland, which results in brown skin. Or two, the lack of secretion of the melanocyte-stimulating hormone, HSH, which would result in white or pale skin coloration. The nervous system has a major effect on your skin. Leprosy produces granular legionnaires in affected areas of the skin. That's why they called it leprosy. You will find that when you see a person with a rash or some kind of skin disorder, that it comes from them being stressed out, not sleeping and/or eating properly, or being tense the majority of the time. Any doctor will tell you that most skin problems stem from stress. That is why when people suffer from skin disorders such as seborrhea, eczema, psoriasis, herpes, etc., they usually don't break out until they become stressed out. So you can't tell me that you can't catch a malignant skin disease, which is spoken of in Leviticus 13:2 from stress. The Torah gives various accounts of the signs and symptoms of what leprosy actually looks like. The Bible describes leprosy as having white skin in Leviticus 13:4, where it say, "As if the bright spot be white in the skin of his flesh, and in sight be not deeper than the skin, and the hair thereof be not turned white, then the priest shall shut up him that hath the plague 7 days." And for those who will try to say that it doesn't say white in the original language, you are wrong, because the word being used in Aramaic, Hebrew, in this quote for white is laban, meaning white. Leprosy affects the skin, and the mucous membranes of the nose and throat. It mainly affects the nerves. There is a saying that goes, "I was scared pale." Ham was stressed at this moment in his life. He was what you would call a manic depressive. And it is a known fact that stress can cause skin defects, because what affects your nerves can affect your skin. If a regular person could scare you pale, just imagine what could happen if the unknown was made known to you. And that is exactly what happened when the Elohim stepped in. It scared Ham pale. However, this didn't happen to him physically. It affected his genes, and it came out in his fourth son Laban, Canaan. You mean to tell me that just because Ham was scared by the Elohim, this caused Canaan to be born with the curse of albinism and leprosy? Yes, because Ham was scared to the point where it affected his genes and caused his child to be born melanin recessive. As you read previously, the curse that was placed on Laban, Canaan, was a genetic curse, which means it took place in the genes of man. In the case of Ham, the curse that was placed on him would only show up on his fourth offspring, which was Canaan. Genes are parts of chromosomes which are made of DNA. DNA controls the inherited traits in man, animals and plants, which are responsible for almost all the features that make you look different from anyone else. The composition of all your body organs are governed by your intelligence. In the nucleus of every cell in your body, there are at least 1 million strands of DNA. Altogether, they do much to decide what you look and think like. It is in the fourth generation of animals and plants that the recessive traits show up. That is why the results of Ham's stress showed up in his fourth son, because as it says in Exodus 25, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Laban, Canaan, was born pale, and an albino, in other words with the curse of leprosy. The sun is the deity Re-Ra, and he will attack them. You know it's a curse when the sun, something that they claim their very own God created, burns them into cancer. They are told do not go outside in the direct sun, don't go to the beach without suntan, or else they get skin disease or skin cancer and it can kill them. They cannot live under the sun, nature is mad at them, not man. Nature is controlled by the sun. Growth, warmth, light is all based on the sun. If the sun ceased to shine, all living things on earth would die. So if the sun is made at one of its creatures, how does it retaliate, and why would it be mad at one of its creatures, except for an act that goes against nature itself? So if a being or people can't live under the sun, without fear of being burnt to a point where they have a skin disease, a malignant skin disease, which become cancer, because of being melanin recessive, and it has been proven that the first humans on this earth were negroid or melaninites, to become melanin recessive is in fact a curse, which allows the sun to exterminate you. This must be the wishes of nature, that you be exterminated for some unnatural act against nature. Their very nature is that of a devil in their own holy not holy scriptures, where the devil is described and his actions and undertakings are clear in the Bible and the Quran, and now their time to decline has finally come. A change of direction is necessary to guarantee a safe transition into the future. This millennium 2000 ended his 6,000-year rule at 99 to 99 AD on into our time. The new millennium needs a new calendar for this time. Nothing is still. Everything is in motion. Everything vibrates. A change is the only solution. You must learn to do for self. You must break away from his tones and teach our children our own language. Open their minds up to ancient Egypt and how it relates to them, and give the devil back their devilishment in all its forms. Create your own standard of beauty. Stop trying to be like them and look like them. Be natural and nature will work with and for you. Call on your ancestors and they will respond. Reverse the tricknology that dark is bad and light is good. All of creation is light and darkness, yet the creator must be dark, the key to the universe, the whole of existence throughout the planetary system, the stars, light as suns, the depths of interstellar space, darkness are all made of visible and invisible rays of light and darkness. To the seen, light and the unseen, darkness to all energy, substance, liquids, gases and all physical life needs water to exist. Light is the fire. Dark is the water. The light of the fire births smoke and the dark of the deep water births vapor. Cold, heat, frozen, burnt. Both are the same, just differing in degrees of vibration of the same principle. There is no such thing as absolute heat or absolute cold heat, and cold indicates varying degrees of the same state, just variety. Just as good and bad, but the same with light and darkness, for light is particles, things, whereas darkness just is. The amber light is of fire. The green light is a combination of blue gas light and yellow light fire. Blue equals 180 degrees of will, and yellow equals 180 degrees of will, agreeable and disagreeable. You created the sun, it has a birth and death like you, you are of it. It is of you. You get up in the morning with it and received its warmth and cooked with its heat. Oh, the all and all the Nebat who are in the all, the creator of the light sun, the spirit to create guidance, planets, stars, birth of chaos. You have been enlightened with the light sun, and the light sun is in the light solar plexus of your light. Oh light, soul. Light is vibrating energy that we see as light. We see different speeds of vibration as different colors. If it vibrates to slow or to fast, you can't see it at both points. It's unseen and in darkness. Very slow ones makes radio waves and microwaves, and very fast ones are X-rays. 1. Radio. 2. Red. 3. Violet. 4. X-ray. When different colors of light are mixed in, we see it as white light. When in fact, if you mix all colors of paint, you get black. Blue light moves the fastest, it vibrates faster than any other colors. Black is not a color, it is a state. The release of the microatoms of life from O8, oxygen, is the source of all physical life. The three evils: 1. Germs, 2. Virus, 3. Micros, the demons of disease or disease. Sickness, illness, death. The electromagnetic waveform or light forms the building blocks of the things that exist in the cosmos, in which we have our physical beings, as microatoms of light, yet in the true state we are energy, darkness and great unity, which are equal to atoms from H1, hydrogen, the root seed that out of itself by doubling creates helium, the powers of the sun, which is H1 atom complete, the undifferentiated one, who created himself out of the energies of the morning sun, as H1 hydrogen appeared out of ether, creating itself to complete the spiritual world, beginning of the physical world, onto S99, the hidden powers of the atom, linked to a moon the 99th name, the hidden powers of the setting sun. Between atom, which is H1, a moon, which is S99, all physical exists. That which is matter, that which matters. Things that have some weight, height, thickness, something or some things, the sum of things. Sum, which is amount. Nothing is before hydrogen, the ether, and something is after hydrogen, the physical.